Hey guys, it's Billy here. Welcome to my dining room. It smells like food in here because I just ate dinner. And yes, this is a Star Wars video about wood. A piece of wood. I have wood for you guys. In all seriousness, guys, yes, we have a piece of wood. I just picked this thing up at the hardware store because we have an emergency Star Wars build that we've got to do stat. So let me tell you a little bit of a story. Back in 2010, I decided that I was going to be an X-Wing fighter pilot for Halloween. My son was Anakin Skywalker, and it was this Star Wars holiday thing. So I got a little overzealous, a little carried away, and I built my X-Wing fighter pilot costume, which you can see here, is laying on the table. It kind of looks like the Emperor himself sucked all the life force out of Luke, and it's just a saggy pile of crap. But that is my costume. But as you can look, it's missing a very, very, very key element, which is the respirator chest box. Well, as you can see here, this is what's left of the said respirator chest box. And it's got these really crazy markings that look just like a dog might have chewed it up. And in fact, that's exactly what happened. So why is this important and why this is an emergency build? Well, there's a restaurant here in the States called Chick-fil-A. I don't know if I know you guys don't have them overseas, and a lot of places don't even have them in the States. But I saw an ad the other day in the window saying that it was Star Wars versus Star Trek, and if you dressed up as either side, whether you're Star Trekky or Star Warsy, you get a free entree. And I thought that would be so much fun. So I decided to dig the old fighter pilot costume out and maybe go make a stupid ass video. But I forgot my dog had chewed up the chest box. And if you can look there, one of the data rods is also missing. She also chewed one of those up, but that's pretty easy to make. My original chest box was just an old intercom box that I had laying around. It was really, really crappy, and I'm much better fabricator now than I was. The original chest boxes that were in New Hope were actually made out of wood, just like this. So I could totally make this chest box out of wood and call it good, but I have a homemade vacuum former, so we're just going to make the mold out of wood. I want to do this because it'll be a lot more durable in case my dog over here decides that she wants to chew it up. I'd rather it be out of a hard Lexan type plastic, and it'll be a lot lighter to carry around than a big solid wood piece. So let's get started, guys. So we're here at my computer, and as you can see, I pulled up Google Images. That is a TIE Fighter pilot chest box, of course, but this is what we're looking to build right here. Something like this. And it's got a couple weird angles and stuff, and it's a little thicker than the wood that I'm using, so we're going to have to basically glue a couple pieces together and go on with our bad self. So stick with me, and let's get started. I actually have real wood pencils downstairs, I swear. I'm just using what I have in my hobby shop. So here it is. This is our final, at least our final physical size. So now we got to do some detail work and make it look a little bit more fancy. Okay guys, you can see we drew some grid lines here. I kind of sectioned it off, and these are going to be the notch holes for our rocker switches. It's not going to go to the second piece because there's actually a part underneath that you can see kind of this, so we're basically just going to cut this one and then shape it in to make it work. Alright guys, we're back. For some reason, these clamps, they were fighting against each other. They were opposing forces, and it just wouldn't sit right. So I decided just to lay it on a piece of paper so I don't get wood glue on my table, and just let it sit on its own, and I think it'll be fine in the morning. There are a lot of rough edges. The real chest box has a lot more rounded edges, so I'm going to take some sandpaper and kind of take out some of the imperfections, but once it's all solid and glued together, I can be a little bit more rougher with it, and I can take some sanding blocks and sanding belts and whatnot and polish it up a little bit. As far as the 3 rocker switches that go here, I've decided to not put those on the mold itself, but I'll make those and put those on top of the acrylic for later, and I think it'll look a lot more better and look more legitimate, like they are actual switches you can use. And then the other stuff on here is just, it's washers and just junk you get in a hardware store, so it's going to be pretty easy to fabricate and paint up. So there it is right now, guys. So stick with me and I'll see you later. Alright guys, we're back. As you can see here, this is our final product that's going to go into the vacuum former. Now it's not perfect. As you can see here, if you look at the edges a little bit, you can see it's kind of hard to get focused, but you can see I've rounded them off just like the real chest box. And I just use sandpaper. And like I said, it's not perfect. You can see some imperfections. If I really wanted to make this perfect, I would use like a wood filler and fill in some of the cracks.
I wanted to tell this story because it's an epic story of failure and it's an epic story of triumph. Unfortunately, my vacuum former wasn't quite large enough to handle the size of the chest box. So I tried an alternate method where I put the entire plastic form in the oven with the mold, hoping that the heat would basically draw the plastic down over the top of it. It worked to a point, but unfortunately, as I was pulling it out of the oven, the mold fell onto the coils and literally caught on fire. So I had a fire inside my oven, which was quite humorous, and I wish I would have been filming, to be honest. Unfortunately, when I saw that my oven was on fire, I might have panicked a little bit. I might have overreacted a bit, and I pulled my plastic mold out of the way to get to the source of the fire. At the time, the plastic was still very pliable, it was still very soft, and just the motion of me jerking it out of the way completely distorted it and ruined it. Fortunately for me, I was able to get the mold out of the bottom of the oven, put out the fire, but unfortunate is that the mold was pretty much destroyed from catching on fire. I did, however, decide that I wanted to go down there and at least be part of the fun. So I went down there, I got in my truck, and I visited Chick-fil-A in my civilian clothes, and I was greeted at the door by an AT-AT driver as well as Darth Vader himself, and I was smiling from ear to ear. Now there was a scoreboard that was just a white dry erase board that had Star Trek versus Star Wars, and on the Star Trek side there were 2 markings, just 2 markings. There was a guy that dressed up as a 1960s Captain Kirk, and then there was also a very, very well-dressed modern day Klingon, and the whole place was just filled with Star Wars. So I ordered my food and I just sat there and watched, and I was talking to this kid. He was probably about 18 years old, and he was dressed up as an Imperial officer, and I asked him, you know, this is crazy how blown out the Star Trek guys are. And apparently he was part of the 501st, the local area of Nebraska 501st, and he and his friends got together on Facebook and decided that they were just going to squash any idea that the fan base for Star Trek was stronger than Star Wars. And they had about 45 of the Legionnaires show up at this Chick-fil-A, and it was probably one of the funnest dinners that I've had in a while.